How's it going, everybody? It's Pride here and welcome back to another video. Today we're going to be talking a little bit about Bloodborne, primarily focusing on the little interview that Miyazaki had. In Brazil, I believe he was given an achievement award, and in the interview he actually talked a little bit about Bloodborne, mentioning Bloodborne 2 even. So let's go ahead and jump into it. So in case you didn't see, basically there was a couple of things. I don't think the full interview has been released yet, or I should say translated into English. Right now it is pretty much only in Portuguese, so there's a couple different websites that have, I guess, like bullet points. And one of the biggest bullet points to come out of it is when Miyazaki mentioned that Bloodborne 2 is not his decision to make. It's not From Software's decision to just be like, y'all want to make Bloodborne? And then everybody cheers and they get it done in 2 weeks and it's out tomorrow. It really isn't. Obviously, they created the game, but Sony is the holder of that IP. It ultimately is up to Sony to decide to pay From Software to make this game. Now, we kind of knew that already. Also, in the interview, it was kind of cool that Miyazaki basically said that his favorite game to work on was Bloodborne. This is obviously the interview right here, the main interview. It is in Portuguese. If you speak Portuguese or can read it, I'll link in the description so you guys could read it for yourselves. I can read Spanish, but Portuguese is tough. There's a bunch of different words that I just, you read some of it and then you lose about half of it. But one of the big things I've kind of noticed with this that nobody really seems to be picking up is that him saying that Bloodborne 2 isn't their decision. I think that pretty much means that as of this moment right now, Bloodborne 2 is not in development. We've always kind of assumed that, alright, this game's probably going to come out eventually, right? It's one of the most successful PlayStation exclusives and it came out right at the beginning. And even with the player base that it's aimed at being probably very different than a lot of the people who bought PlayStations, this is one of the biggest and one of the best AAA exclusives to come out right at the beginning. It was pretty much the reason I got a PlayStation 4. I wanted to get a PlayStation 4. Now, obviously, right now they are working on Elden Ring, which is probably going to come out later 2020, early 2020 possibly. And it's definitely not insane to think that they're working on two things at the same time. I believe back in the day they were working on the Dark Souls 3 DLC and Sekiro at the exact same time. I believe just the last DLC, the Ring City. And even though it's not two big full games, it's still two different properties that Miyazaki spent time on both, because obviously he did direct Sekiro and was a part of Dark Souls 3's DLCs. But the fact that he just straight up said, oh, it's not our decision to make this game, probably means it's not in development, which is, kind of sad, because I feel like we all would love a second Bloodborne game. Out of all the From Software games, I would probably say Bloodborne is my favorite. I love the dark setting. I love the story of the game. I love the characters. The weapons are so much fun. The transformation from after you get inside and you see all the creatures that are actually in the world. It's such a cool transition the first time you see it. It's very unique, and it's seriously a super enjoyable game. I asked on Twitter a little while ago, pretty much just saying which would people prefer after Elden Ring, Bloodborne 2, Dark Souls 4, new IP. I feel like maybe because the Bloodborne news came out and Miyazaki talked about Bloodborne, a lot of people are saying Bloodborne 2 right now. Because I feel like if I would have asked this question right after Sekiro, a lot of people would have said new IP. Because they were kind of going on that trend. Sekiro is a great game, a lot of fun. They do some of their best work when they're working on a new IP. Obviously, they went from Dark Souls to Bloodborne. Bloodborne being the new IP, and they did an amazing job on that. So they kind of always hit it out of the park whenever they work on something new. That's why I'm very hopeful for Elden Ring, by the way. It could definitely be bad, but I don't see how it can be bad. Wait, does that mean Fortnite is confirmed for Dark Souls? I obviously wouldn't mind either of Dark Souls 4, Bloodborne 2, or new IP. Either of them, as long as it's made by From Software, I will play and most likely enjoy. Another thing from the interview that was kind of cool was obviously these, game directors, Miyazaki himself included, don't really dwell on the past and look back at the games that they worked on, some of the things that were in it. But one of the things Miyazaki mentioned is that he would have liked to change some of the things with the chalice dungeons and the blood gems in Bloodborne. It's such a small specific thing that a lot of people always mention that, chalice dungeons are boring, and the way you get gems, especially that some of the best gems in the game are only in the chalice dungeons. It's always been a complaint for a lot of people. I personally enjoy the chalice dungeons. At least I did, especially since when I played Bloodborne, I wasn't uploading any type of Dark Souls content on YouTube, and I just really enjoyed the game, and then I wanted to play more of it, and then I was like, oh, I have these dungeons that have a bunch of new bosses that aren't in the main game. I barely even knew about the blood gems. I didn't know how to make builds or anything like that. It's not something I paid attention to a lot, except for the chalice dungeons, which were just extra content for me to play. It would definitely be interesting to see, you know, what it is he would change or what it is he would want to change. Obviously, he probably wouldn't say it, but it definitely would be interesting. And that was the point where the person interviewing basically suggested, oh, maybe you could, there's things you can fix in Bloodborne 2, huh? Wink, wink. Tell us about Bloodborne 2. Is it coming out tomorrow? And that's when Miyazaki basically said Bloodborne 2 isn't their decision. That's, you know, all up to Sony. Also, another small and funny thing to mention is Miyazaki saying that his favorite boss was the old monk from Demon Souls, which I believe was a PvP boss. Pretty much the boss is like a player that could invade, or you can invade as that boss, kind of like in Dark Souls 3 Ring City. I believe it's something like that. I'm not entirely sure, and I never played it. I have specifically never really watched any content just in case I ever want to go back and play it, or they release a remaster or remake. Which, by the way, I guess I should probably mention this in this video as well. But I guess my final thoughts on the whole, you know, Miyazaki interview, it's cool to see him mention Bloodborne 2, basically say, hey, it's not our decision. Stop yelling at us to make this game that we can't just straight up make. We probably would if we could, considering Miyazaki said it's his favorite that he worked on, but we can't. So stop telling us about it. I do still think it will come out eventually for the PlayStation 5, but now we move on to earlier this week. The PlayStation 5 was basically confirmed. People were saying that it was going to be coming out next year, probably around, you know, November, December, holidays. As you can see here, the official name PlayStation 5 and a bunch of other shit that makes the console powerful. By the way, that is the ugliest goddamn design, and that better be some 18-year-old being like, yeah, I want to make a PlayStation 5 drawing, and then that's it. I hope that thing is so ugly. But the PlayStation 5 is not important, alright? What is important is Bluepoint Games. So in case you guys don't know, Bluepoint Games are basically really well known for making fantastic remasters for games. They put out the most recent Shadow of the Colossus remaster, which everybody said was fantastic. They did it like Metal Gear Solid remastered. But it was confirmed that the first game that is going to be coming out for the PlayStation 5 is a big game from Bluepoint Games. Everybody is speculating what could it be. They've been working on something for a while. I remember there was news about them like a year or two ago that they were working on a really big and popular, beloved franchise. And one of the things everybody is speculating it is going to be right now is Demon Souls. I feel like that's mainly all the people that are From Software fans kind of just talking and hoping that it might be a remaster of Demon Souls. Now, I personally would enjoy that. I never played Demon Souls back in the day, never had a PlayStation 3, but I feel like a remaster, I don't know, I feel like it wouldn't do this game justice. I feel like a remake is what this game needs. It could be possible, and it's definitely something that could happen, but of course, it's just people speculating that Bluepoint is maybe working on the Demon Souls remastered. Obviously, Demon Souls is an IP from Sony, so it's not out of the question that the first PS5 game could be Demon Souls remastered. I feel like a ton of people are asking for it. Hell, if I asked on this list that I tweeted if they would prefer a Demon Souls remastered, I feel like that would maybe even beat out Bloodborne 2. It's that nostalgia factor, you know? But either way, that was just me, you know, kind of bullshitting around, looking at some of the things that have come out recently that I've been looking forward to. Of course, PlayStation 5 is going to be cool. I'm sure they'll have some good games. It's going to be a nice jump in quality from PlayStation 4, I'd imagine. They've said that pretty much the PlayStation 5 and the new Xbox are like the biggest jumps between consoles when it comes to the actual tech inside of them. Obviously, going to be buying both of the consoles. And I'll keep an eye out. I'll keep an eye out for any type of news that comes out for Bloodborne 2 or Demon Souls, of course. Again, the Demon Souls, I just wanted to throw it in here because I thought it was really funny that people have been talking about it. Hell, even Vadi mentioned it, so I know if the lore master mentions it, then everybody's going to be hyped up, and I definitely am hyped up as well. Either way, thank you guys very much for watching. I hope you guys did enjoy the video. Let me know what you guys think about all of this, man. Do you think that Bluepoint is actually working on a remaster for Demon's Souls and that it's going to be the first PS5 game. I feel like that's kind of a weird game to throw out there as the very first PlayStation 5 game. You know, such a big release, such a big console. Would it be a remaster of like a 10-year-old game? I have no idea. I don't know, because there's such a, like, obviously the market that they're aiming for is the Souls market. Sekiro did really well. They're maybe just going to try to bank on that From Software name, the Souls name. It's a little bit odd, but I could see it happening. I could see them releasing a few different games, but if they say this is the first game, I don't know. One of the first games, yeah, I would definitely be like, oh, hell yeah, Demon's Souls. People would be hyped up and would probably buy it. No matter what, obviously, I will be buying 9 of them, and I will be giving them out to homeless people. So yeah, thank you very much for watching. Leave a like if you made it this far. It helps out the channel, helps out the video. Thank you very much if you do, and I'll see you all next time. Peace, everybody.